Okay, you with me so far? We're looking at what government does, not what it says. And what it's doing is it's keeping in place these internal security measures. And the ostensible reason is because this is the only way to save us from terrorists who are going to come and get on planes and blow us up. But that's really not a rational point of view. It's an irrational point of view. One, they can't actually do it. It can't be accomplished if you listen to the experts who talk about how you get bombs on planes. They're not going to save us that way. Two, the real war is a psychological war in the sense of what's happening external to the United States. And the interesting thing is that our government in its actions is going along with the psychological war. They're encouraging us to be afraid. And when we look behind that and we look at history, we realize that we're in a pre-fascist condition. Now, fascism is just a word and people will think a certain kind of thing is it, but again, it's about a confluence of interests between people in government and some people within the capitalist class who want to dominate and preserve themselves at the expense of ordinary people. Now, why are they involved in what they're doing? Is it like they just want to be dictators? No. But they're not stupid. They see the direction things are going. They probably have really smart people, and they can get a report, They can go and say, hey, what do you think is going to happen in the next 20 years in the United States if certain conditions, economic conditions, continue and worsen? Well, the economic report will say, in very academic, wonderful language, you're going to have 20, 30, 40% unemployment, and people are going to riot. It's what happens in other countries when stuff like this goes down. Oh, well, say the super rich, who are paranoid themselves. We can't have the American people rioting and challenging our way of life, so we need to do some things, to get ready. So let's have private armies, and we'll fund these private armies through taxes. We'll make sure that military contracts get given to these private armies, and the private armies, will come into existence, and they'll do all this stuff for us. And the people in the private armies are going to get rich, and we're going to sit in our little, well, not little, in our mansions out in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C., and we're going to talk to each other in euphemisms, but basically what we're going to say is how we're going to take care of ourselves. And one of the things that we need is we need to be able to control internal security in the United States, because we can't have radicals running around the country getting ready to bomb us rich people once they realize how much we're really screwing them over. And of course that's one of the things that's happening today. People are realizing more and more how screwed over we are being by the rich, And the rich have so penetrated government that even the famous Democrat, who's full of hope and change, brought with him all the people from Goldman Sachs into the White House, and they've simply kept doing the same thing that they were doing before. In spite of all the evidence that most of those people should be arrested and in jail for financial crimes, much less have nothing to do with the government because they don't have the interest. Their interest is not in the people of the United States. They're not interested in us. They like us to give our children to go fight wars they want to fight, and they like us to make things and buy things so that their businesses can have money that they make, but other than that they don't have a real interest, and it's not a problem, that there's a, what you might call a survival of the fittest mentality among the rich. They figure that if they got rich, they're, it must be the way things are, or better. Anyway, so here we are. We have the government sticking to heightened security, internal security in the United States. And prior to that, After 9/11, and I talked about this before, but it's an important point to remember, okay? 9/11 happens. Within a week, Congress is attacked through a bioterrorism event. Anthrax is discovered being sent through the postal system. Now, it never gets to Congress. The only people that die or get sick of the anthrax are people involved in moving the mail around. And in that mood, after 9/11 and after this bioterrorism attack, directed apparently right at Congress, Congress passes this over 300-page bill. Now, nobody wrote it then. It had been written before. It's sitting on the shelf. It's called the Patriot Act. And if you read the details of the Patriot Act, what it does, and there's been acts of a similar kind since then, and you can read about it in my book on common sense. You can read the details of this. But the basic idea was to define as domestic terrorism all the protest activity that took place in the United States in the 60s and 70s in the anti-war movement. And just as in then, today you have the FBI and the Secret Service going out during times of election and harassing ordinary citizens who might show up and protest. No crime has been committed, but the social pressure of government law enforcement officials is used to try to get the populace of the United States to back down and not be involved in protest activity. And why are they doing this? Because as economic conditions worsen, and as we go forward in this pre-fascist state, it's important to the people that want to preserve their wealth against anything we might do out of anger against them because they basically stole it. They need ways to control us, and they heightened internal security, and they find ways to call protest activity domestic terrorism. And so basically we're involved in a psychological war in which our government is complicit to make the people of the United States scared enough to do whatever the government wants it to do, or behind the government, what the leading elites in the financial world want to preserve their own state of being, their own state of control and wealth and dominance. And that's a path to fascism. And all the signs are there, folks. They're all there. And this is why it becomes important then, whether or not you as an individual citizen start to get involved in politics. The government is making war on its own people. The barbarians aren't at the gate. They're inside the gate. They're inside our own government. And we need to find ways to get along, to appreciate each other, to stand together, and to, shall we say, resist out of wisdom these coming events in such a way that fascism does not really take hold, and we find a way, working with each other, to survive.